Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Full Pelt Music Podcast. Shortly, we'll be joined by Therapy to talk about their new album, Hard Cold Fire. But before then, the usual reminders from myself. If you would, please do follow Full Pelt on social media. We're on Facebook at Full Pelt and on Twitter and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. And again, if you would, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, whatever you're watching or listening. Well, thank you to Michael from Therapy for joining us on the Full Pelt Music Podcast. Absolutely delighted to have you on today. How are you doing?
Yeah, all good. Yes, lovely, sun shining.
Yeah,
Life is good. Yeah, really can't complain.
Excellent. Yeah, sun is shining. Definitely can't ask for much more than that. Summer is here. Festival season is on the way, which is always great.
Oh yeah.
And of course, we'll get into the live side of things in a moment. But before then, I think we really do have to start with Hard Cold Fire, the band's 16th album that has just come out a couple of weeks ago as we speak. Phenomenal album. Obviously, our review, very, very positive. It's been on repeat in the Full Pelt office, as it were, since it come out. It's a stunning album. And from everything I've seen, the reviews I've read, obviously the comments I can see online, the feedback seems to be really, really positive for the album. Is that something that you felt, obviously, on your end?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's always a bit of a mind melt when you put an album out. You know, you've been working on the songs and doing your thing, and I'm absolutely overwhelmed with the reaction so far. I mean, I think we were all really pleased with the album when we get finished, and we knew it was a good album. You know, we were really, really looking forward to playing the songs live and stuff. But yeah, it's really seems to have connected really well with a lot of people at this point in time, and it's a bit surreal, and it's brilliant. So thank you, thank you for your comments, and um, reviews have been fantastic. We did some like in-store kind of things the week of release where we played the album in full, and we've never actually done that before. And meeting and chatting to people afterwards, it was brilliant, even at that early stage, how well they'd been received. And then we actually did one of the first festivals of the summer. We went out to Germany there last week, and we played six new songs in the set, which we would never normally do at a festival, for example. And they all went down brilliant. I was flabbergasted afterwards because it was a bit of a punt. We thought, well, we're enjoying playing them, so why not? So yeah, I'm not going to overthink it. I'm just really happy that people are connecting with it and getting something out of the album, so I'm delighted.
Yeah, no, and you should be. And it definitely, I say, seems from what I can see on my end that people are. And you made some interesting points that we'll get to actually later on in the conversation around the live side of things. Particularly, I've got some questions I want to ask around your set list, but I'm going to put a pin in that for just now.
Sure.
Because obviously, the album, definitely we need to dissect it a little bit. And you talk about obviously the audience and the connection they have, and I do wonder if there's any link. Of course, it was recorded back in November 2021, so still, I guess you could call it a pandemic era type recording. So I don't know if there's something in that people have lyrically maybe gotten into, but obviously you recorded it at Marshall Studios with Chris Sheldon, who you obviously worked with on your previous album as well. So overall, what was that experience like for you?
Well, I mean, the recording was brilliant. Really enjoyed being in the studio. It was our first time there, Marshall Studios. It's a state-of-the-art, perfect mix of vintage, analog type stuff, but also, state-of-the-art element also to it as well. So it was kind of, for a band like us, it was the perfect mix. You can pick and choose what elements of those ways of recording work for you. We've got a really good history with Chris Sheldon, so there's no getting to know you period. Sometimes when you meet a producer for the first time, you have to kind of figure out a working process individually and as a band. And what's good about Chris, and what I really like about the fact we have a history with him, he knows when you need to work a bit harder and no one takes offense, but he also knows when you're doing something that's really good and you don't need to overcomplicate it or over egg it and sometimes, and I speak from experience, when you've got a lot of ideas, you kind of want to cram them all in. And Chris was really good at capturing the essence of what the band's about, but also making sure everyone individually is happy with their performance and stuff like that. And I really feel like just Chris Sheldon hears what the band are saying as individuals and as a band, and sonically he really gets how it all works with this. So that the recording aspect of it was really very, very easy, and we did it all together. It was one of the times when it was after the lockdowns, basically. Yeah. So we could be in a room together. The genesis of the album goes back to December 2019. Okay. That's when we had the first rehearsal period. We went to Derby with the various ideas we demoed at home and started working that. And then we did another one in February 2020. Little did we know what was just coming down the line. So going into the lockdown on that first kind of period of chaos and uncertainty, we had a big chunk of stuff already rehearsed as a band and kind of demoed, and that was very important. I think that's how we managed to come through the lockdowns, sane, focused and still. That was our little rock we were able to grab onto, because we were chipping away at home, working away and stuff. Andy rewrote some of the lyrics, changed things around. So I don't think it's necessarily an album born of the lockdown, either in content or circumstance. I think there's a lot of things that the band had been doing up to that point, and then after that, when we did all the rescheduled 30th anniversary shows, classic Therapy style, 2 years too late because of the way it was. But we did every single one of those. We did about, I think, maybe 100 shows last year, which was a really cool way of getting back out there and seeing everyone and reconnecting with everyone. And I think a lot of people, we played a few of the new songs live then as well. So I think that set us up nicely for clearing the decks at the start of this year and going into the new album proper. So I think it didn't happen in a vacuum, but I think there's a lot of different elements all came together. And the upside of the pandemic, although it was, we got off lightly compared to a lot of people, coming through that with the record done and having a time to, there was no mad panic to get it done because there were no tours, but there was nothing to do apart from, go and see where we could take the album. And coming off the back of Cleave, the previous album, and the album before that, Disquiet, I think we wanted to build on that artistically, that same sonic kind of approach, and make music that it was fun to play live, which the Cleave songs were a lot of fun to play, and also to have a positive energy. There's enough, when you go into concert hall, there's enough stuff going on outside there that's stressful for everybody right across the board. So we wanted to make kind of them uplifting and feel good in their own way. And I think that's maybe what people are connecting to as well with this one.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely. You've certainly achieved that goal. And just to touch on, obviously, being recorded and obviously it's kind of done back in November of 2021, obviously only just released now in May of 2023. I've spoken to a number of artists that have had a similar kind of lengthy delay. Of course, you had the other commitments with the tour that you had to finish off. Some of the artists I've spoken to have said that although there is normally a bit of a delay from recording an album to putting it out because you've got the whole big machine and process that needs to go behind that. But some bands felt they kept having to go back. They couldn't help themselves but go back to the songs and tinker with them a little bit. And then they felt, actually, we wish we hadn't done that. We wish we'd left it as it was. Is that something that you perhaps, considered, or were you, so happy that it's like, no, we're going to sit on this and then obviously do what we need to do and get it out when the time comes?
Yeah, well, I think, to be honest, because we had our tinkering time during the lockdown, we'd already done our tinkering. And I mean, over the period of 30 years, 16 albums, you do learn stuff. And one thing we've learned is do the tinkering before you go in the studio. Don't do it in the studio or after the event, because that's, you're chasing your tail. For us personally, I know other bands have different working processes, and I totally respect that. But for us, you want to do all that in the rehearsal room and take it as far as you can before you go into the studio. So I was really pleased. I mean, we signed off on the mixes and the artwork actually about this time last year. So it's only really been, I suppose, just over a year since it was kind of done and dusted. So it's not like it's been sitting on the shelf for 2 years or longer. And I think as well, one of the reasons there was a delay with getting the vinyl pressed as well, which there was a backlog because of things, various theories, you know.
Adele, supposedly.
Well, yeah, well, she does get a lot of the criticism for it. Yeah, you know, sucking up all the resources and all the slots. But you know, I totally get that. So I'm just glad we were able to set it up better and just start the new year with the new album. So
yeah,
it was good. But no, we didn't feel the need to go back and tinker with stuff. You know, I was really, and still am, very like delighted. The cool thing was, once the album's kind of done and we're out touring and stuff, I didn't really listen to it in full again until just before it came out, when I was kind of refreshing myself in the songs to play live, and I'm absolutely delighted with the way it's come out still. So yeah, 100%.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, and that process makes so much sense. Yeah, get the tinkering out of the way for sure. And obviously you had the album sat there, so we're going to dive into a couple of songs. And obviously one of the songs that you chose to get out early was Joy, because you played it on the 30 or 32-year plan tour, as it ended up being. What about that song made it stick out for you as the song that you were going to sort of put out there first to the world?
Well, that was one of the songs that came together slightly later. I think that was one that Andy had sent when we were in a lockdown. So it was just the guitar and the vocal idea. So I mean, and this, you know, when you hear a riff like that, it's like, right, you know, you kind of envisage how you're going to put the bass and the drums, how it's going to sound with a full band. So that was one that we were really excited about, just from the initial rough idea that Andy sent through. And like Poundland of Hope and Glory, we're the kind of band that every song we do it justice. It's not like we think, oh, these two are the singles, everything else, you know. So we have learned over the years that sometimes it's actually best to give it to the record label and say, look, we're happy with anything that you release off this, whatever you feel gives you the best shot with radio and those kind of options, because it's out of our hands now anyway. So we've learned that over the years. I do remember when we did Trouble Gum, if anyone knows that album, the first single or first new song, obviously Screw Major and Turn had been out previous, but the first new song from Trouble Gum, we were adamant that it should be Unbeliever. And we were going, it has to be Unbeliever. This is the one we think this is going to tick all the boxes. And the label said, look, you're mad. Just release Nowhere. And we were like, yeah, okay. And then, of course, Nowhere's one of our most popular songs. So it was kind of, you can't see the wood for the trees type thing. So we label whatever you can work with best from these 10 songs. And Joy, they felt, was a good statement. It's got all the classic kind of Therapy elements, heavy, big riff, hooks, good groove, you know, and it's just a real pleasure to play it as well, you know. So that was kind of a no-brainer. We were like, yeah, but they could have picked Two Wounded Animals or They Shoot the Terrible Master. Any of those tracks could have been a good first single, I think.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. Every single track on the album is so strong and could have been that single. And it was great because obviously it was a retrospective tour, but putting that little glimmer of, well, this is what we're doing next to there, it was so well received by, I mean, your fan base is so dedicated and obviously a great fan base anyway, but they really accepted that, and the shows that I saw, that it went down so well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think we're lucky that we've got a great fan base, and they're quite open-minded. I think they don't just want the same thing regurgitated, and I mean, there's certain bands, not regurgitate, that's the wrong word, but there's certain bands that have a very strict template, and I love them, like AC/DC or the Ramones or Bad Religion. You can't really go wrong. It's an Motorhead, for example, it's an art form in itself, but I think with us, it's a bit more of a wider range of things, and sometimes you get stuff that's more downbeat or different influences coming in, or we veer a certain way. And I think thankfully we're lucky that the people who really support the band know that there might be something slightly different down the pipeline. So it's good. I think there's something to be said for both approaches. Because sometimes I hear people say, oh, I didn't get this album, but I love that one. And then someone will say the exact opposite, say they love this one, but not so much that one. Whereas I always think with Motorhead and stuff like that, there's an assurance that you will get something that fits within a sonic template, and it's a glorious template if you get it right. But our templates are a little bit more varied and open.
Definitely. Yeah, they are, and it keeps it interesting for the listeners, and I'm guessing yourselves as well, which it's got to be an important thing. With a band with the longevity that you've got, you need to be having fun, as you mentioned earlier, and obviously interested in what you're doing. And speaking of, I guess, fun as a word, I loved the title. You mentioned your other single, Poundland of Hope and Glory. I mean, the song title itself is absolutely genius, but obviously the song with it is great. So I think that's really wanted to touch on, the themes of that song and how that song came together for you.
Yeah, well, that was a riff I had initially, and then Andy did a tweak on it, which improved it immeasurably. And then we just started playing it in the room, and Andy had this great chorus and kind of the lyrical theme, which fit it in. And obviously the title, sometimes you have titles which are working titles, but it's maybe only humorous to the people in the room at the time, and they do get changed. But the more we thought about it, we thought this is perfect, because it's kind of, Therapy have a history with puns, like Screamager and stuff like that. So we thought this is quite a good one, Land of Hope and Glory, Poundland of Hope and Glory, and we felt it was I do like like the Sleaford Mods always have good song titles, and I always like it when I say a good song title. I think, oh, that's cool. I see where they're coming from it. You can make a serious point in a humorous way without being too, this is the way it should be, or too heavy-handed. And the good end, obviously the chorus Jerusalem, it's just talking about the hymn Jerusalem. That's, in the UK, I find there's been a bit of a weird retrogressive approach, and I think it comes from without getting too into it, the Tory government. It's all about all the good old stuff was brilliant, and it wasn't, and there's colonialism and slavery and terrible things done all across the world, and they seem to want to brush it under the carpet and pretend it was all cricket on the lawn and Pims and all that.
Exactly.
And it was fucking shit. You know what I mean? And I think we have to move forward. We're from Northern Ireland, and we're not big fans of Brexit at all. I don't think any sane person could really be a fan of Brexit. And I just feel like certain things have narrowed in a very short space of time, when I think as we're progressing and things should be getting better. I think we should all have a bit more empathy for people. Obviously, people with different opinions also as well, whether you agree or not. You have to have empathy and be able to get along and respect people, and just leave the world in a better place for our kids and other people's kids and generations to come. That's the bottom line, So the song was kind of looking at that and saying, Jerusalem is literally a city in the Middle East. It's not this thing of a magical, mystical England that is so brilliant, because it wasn't like that before, and it's certainly not going that way now.
Exactly. And that kind of attitude, it shouldn't be seen as revolutionary, just to, basically be nice.
Be sound.
Yeah.
Just think about it and be sound. It's not rocket science, but it's amazing how many people just don't really want to do. And it's kind of sad in a way. I think it's just seeing the way things have gone, and just I know lots of people that work in healthcare and stuff like that, and it's just criminal what's being done to this country.
Yeah, no, I'm certainly along the same lines as you on that one, for sure. And I'm sure we could go down a massive rabbit hole.
Yes, oh yeah, this is a whole other podcast.
Exactly. We'll avoid that, and we'll get back to something the listeners can sink their teeth into, for lack of a better word. And we'll have a link to it in the bio. I always like to shine a light on the videos, because I think it's such a lost art these days. And obviously you put a video out there for Poundland, for Hope and Glory. Listeners can check it out. It's on YouTube these days, because music TV is not really a thing anymore. So yeah, they can click through and link on it. So just, where did the concept for that video come from for you, and how did you go about putting it together?
Well, we wanted to do a performance video, as they say. And I think with rock bands, normally the default is in a dark warehouse with flames and maybe barbed wire and stuff. That's kind of the cliche thing. And I think we just wanted to be a bit more uplifting, I suppose. And then we spoke to the guys who directed the video, and they wrote a really cool treatment, and obviously wanted to allude to the subject matter. So they thought of the idea of the ballerina is something quite noble and pure, and it's being tainted as she dances through the video. Her thing gets more tattered and she gets more dirty and stuff, and it's just maybe a metaphor, an allegory for how the UK is crumbled. You know what I mean? And any kind of dignity and stuff is kind of gone. And I thought it was nice to juxtapose the ballerina, who was absolutely fantastic and very happy to get all this terrible mucky paint, and they threw all this powder and dust over it. It was quite an ordeal for her. And she and I just thought it was a cool thing to do, and I think it was really, really well shot, and the guys seemed to get what we were doing, and I think it captured the energy of the band as well.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, definitely. It come across really, really well. So it is a real lost art, and I do love to check out the videos to songs that come out, especially obviously people that I'm talking to, and put a bit of a spotlight on it. So listeners can click through in the link from the bio of this episode. Once you finish listening, go and have a watch of that video. And obviously, another recent announcement that the band have put out is shuffling across to the live side now. You're going to tour the album, which is always I think kind of the more enjoyable side of the industry, getting out there, playing shows. It's what we're all in it for, realistically. So the Hard Cold Fire tour is going to come later this year. Obviously, numerous venues across the whole of the UK. I see you've just added some dates in Scotland and Wales and Ireland and everything. So it is a full UK tour for once, which a lot of bands don't always do. So what should listeners expect from this run of shows from you?
Well, historically, what we've been doing since 2009 is when we release a new album, we will play the full album at the concert, not in order or anything like that, but we'll intersperse it, and then we try and pick the songs from the back catalogue that maybe tie in musically or thematically. This year, interestingly, we've got a couple of big anniversaries of previous albums. Semi-Detached album is 25 years old this year, and also it's the 30th anniversary of, we call them the 3 EPs. In 93 we had the Short Sharp Shock EP, Face the Strange EP, and then the Opal Mantra EP. So there's probably songs there that I think sonically we can look at and bring up to 2023 Hard Cold Fire kind of compatibility. So I think there'll be a few cool older songs in the set, to supplement the 10 brand new bangers, which is really important, I think. And obviously we'll be playing, the big hits and stuff like that as well. So it'll be a really, one of the good things about the new album is it's like 31 minutes long.
Yeah.
So we've got a whole other hour
Yeah.
of stuff to play around it, so it's quite cool. It gives us a bit of flexibility. And yeah, it'll be great. I think we have also found, for us anyway, it's changed a little bit, the album release schedule. I'm sure it's changed for everyone maybe, but we find that putting the album out and then letting people listen to it and digest it and then doing the shows later. Otherwise, for example, I'd be talking to you probably on a bad connection at a venue with a sound check going on, and you wouldn't probably get the best of me because I'm thinking, I want to go and get some lunch, or I need to go and do something else, So it's a good way of doing stuff. You're able to do the album launch, get it done right, do the interviews, do the press, do the thing, and then get rehearsed and get match fit for the tour, which is really important, rather than trying to cram everything into 6 weeks. I remember we used to go on tour back in the day, and you'd start 2 weeks before the album would come out. So people would know maybe one single, and then you're playing 6 new-ish songs, and the crowd are a bit like, well, I don't know this one. And then by the time you finish the tour and people have got their head around the album, it's kind of over.
Yeah.
Type thing. So I find for us anyway, this seems to work a lot better. And I'm excited, it's good. We can really think about the tour and get the focus right and get a really good set list. And I'm really pleased we have a Norwegian band called Bokassa coming with us, and they're doing all the shows, which is great. It's nice to have a package. They've got a couple of great albums out, and they're really good live. So brilliant. It's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, definitely, and it is always better as a listener, as a fan, when you know the songs. It just naturally comes that way. So I think that schedule works really, really well. And I'm glad you touched on Bokassa, because the next question I was going to ask was around the support acts you take out, because I've always, like, something I've noticed every time I've seen you, I'm like, oh wow, this bands are fantastic. I've managed to see you with Lonely the Brave supporting, James and the Cold Gun recently, Ruse back on the last tour in December. You always seem to have a top tier support act. Does that come from the band? Do you how much input do you have into choosing that support band?
Well, yeah, it's pretty much our decision. I mean, obviously you have a wish list, and we've bands that you like, and bands get in touch and say we'd like to do this, but ideally, the dream is to have a band that can do all the shows. That's important, because sometimes we've done tours before where there's a different band every night, and I don't feel that those bands are getting a fair crack of the whip. And I also feel like it's so I think it's nice to have your Ruse or James and the Cold Gun, and we had Nola Gay, a Northern Irish band, opening up for us as well last year. And I mean, they're kind of newer bands. They've obviously got releases out in their own fan bases and stuff like that. But I feel like it's important to offer them an opportunity where they can have enough time to do a proper set. I mean, we tour with 3 bands, but if we're doing 90 minutes and the other 2 bands, we would have bands sometimes they could only do 20 minutes, and then a lot of venues, they have a club afterwards, so the bands have to play at 6 o'clock, and it's not fair. So we found a 2-band bill, us doing our 90 minutes, and then a good 45-50 minutes of an opener. They can do their thing, and just it's good, it's healthy, because we did a lot of supporting bands in Ireland, and that's how we got in front of different people and were able to connect with people and get people listening to us. So it's important to do that, because it's tough for any band, let alone bands just starting out. So Bokassa is a different kind of vibe, because they're obviously a bit more established, and I've been doing a lot of stuff in Europe. They'll be touring Germany with us, for example, and they're doing the Polish date with us, and they're great guys. We bumped into them a few times, and it's good. So it's good to mix it up, I think. It's good to, I mean, I just want people to have a good night,
Yeah.
People go home happy, smiling.
Exactly. And that's what you want. And, and as the headline band, you want fans to obviously remember that night as a whole, as well as your set. And the thing I kind of picked up on is I could say it's almost brave, to take bands of that quality out on the road with you. Because I do notice some bands, especially if they can shift, a good chunk of tickets themselves, they will just, anyone local or just, just some, a new band, but someone that you perhaps I've caught and thought, well, they're not really going anywhere. They've obviously just been here to tick a box. Do you find that it pushes you as a band more live as well, when you've got to follow someone that is really really good and is properly going to get that audience going?
Oh, definitely. I mean, Therapy never go into a show thinking, "I will phone this in." I mean, we are in kill mode every night, and that's if people are sick or people are tired. That's kind of one of the we're all very lucky that all of us have that mindset. It's like you play the show like it's your last show. So even if the support band is like a guy playing a banjo on his own that's crap, I mean, we're not going to go, it's an easy one for us tonight. It's destroy mode every night. And I think that's one of the reasons we're still around. It's physically it can be hard work and it can be tiring, and stuff, but we're up for it. But yeah, I think we get excited if you're listening to James and the Cold Gun, or and it's a lot of it is to do with the general characters on the tour. If the support bands are positive and nice people, they're doing a good show, the audience are happy. When we go on, we're really happy, and then it's just as I say, it's a win-win. It all works together, and I include venue staff and the people working at the concerts as well. It can sometimes be a thankless task, but there's so many factors go into making it a good night. You know what I mean? And if you get the balance right, it's perfect. So we're we had Clutch open for us on a UK tour with the European tour, and that was really cool because I'm a big fan, and it was just nice to watch perfect, watch one of your favorite bands every night, and then you go on and play your own stuff. That was really cool. So we've been really lucky with bands, and I honestly don't think we've ever, there's maybe been a couple of shows where you do a one-off and there's a local, I don't know, the only rock band in the surrounding 100 miles has been booked to play, and they're just not my cup of tea, but they're doing their thing. Those are the ones that are a bit strange, but mostly I'd say vast majority of the time it's been perfect. And I think that's just because we've had our input into what they're doing. Unfortunately, there's so many good bands we would like to have on with us. We can't put them all on, and a lot of it, to be honest, is just who's available, who can do the majority of the shows. We're quite flexible. I understand people have jobs and other commitments, but sometimes you get those kind of, can we do your London show? We're not interested in any of your shows, but it's like, okay, well, that isn't going to work for us. And I think maybe that's a wee bit unimaginative in an approach, but we're normally pretty accommodating with support bands. Because as I say, we were the support band once, and I know what it takes to get a band at that stage there, and I feel it works both ways.
Yeah, no, definitely fantastic attitude to have and to hear. And listeners definitely need to try and pop along to a show. Best way to obviously find those out these days is either the band's website, which I'm sure they can Google. I believe it's therapy.com or
.co.uk. Yeah, that's the best one. Social media sometimes you miss the post and all that. If it's 100% confirmed, it's on our website and it's all on the tour page there. So.
Yeah, definitely, listeners. There'll be the link in the bio for that for you to get through, and of course, social media, you touched on it. Therapy official across all the social channels. That's nice and easy for listeners to find as well. We've kind of talked a bit about obviously the set list that's coming up for this tour. We have a separate podcast called the Discover New Music Podcast, and we have a regular topic on there that we called Set List Science, because I'm a bit of a set list geek, and 2 podcasts in a row now, I've felt the need to bring it across to this podcast because I've been talking with bands that I've always been intrigued by their set lists. So with that, we always say, have you got how much importance do you put into the structure of a set list, and have you got any rules that you tend to follow? Is the question that kind of leads that segment. And I obviously want to throw that your way because over just the last few years, obviously you've had the 30-year plan tour. You did the Love Your Early Stuff tour, which I managed to get to Colchester for, and was great to be able to hear some rarer tracks on that one. But historically, you've always you've had the anniversary tours for Trouble Gum and Infernal Love and everything. You always do seem to be kind of on the ball with set lists. So how much importance do you place into the structure of your set lists, and have you got any rules that you tend to follow?
Not necessarily rules per se with set lists. I think with as many albums we have, it kind of is a nightmare to write a set list. It is because and I know this as a music fan, I'll go and see someone, I'll go, why didn't they play that song? That one song that I really want to hear. And they might play it the night before, they might play it the night after, they might not play it for the next 10 years. And I think you just have to kind of play with what you're feeling. But we're obviously lucky and very lucky that we've got hits, proper bona fide hits. So there's maybe people that don't know all the B-sides and don't know all the album tracks, but they do know those kind of Screamager, Nowhere, Diane, big hits. And I want to represent that as well because they're great songs and they're great to play as well. You don't go and see Motorhead and they always play Ace of Spades, for example. That's kind of how it works. So, and then obviously you've got new songs you want to try out, and then so it is hard, but I think we just try and do that. And it depends on the show. We did that festival recently, 6 new songs. That's, there's kind of an unwritten rule. You shouldn't play that many new songs in a festival set.
Yeah.
But we were headlining with 90 minutes, so it seemed to make sense. If we're doing a support slot, you probably play 1 new song, or, you could even play all new songs if you wanted. But I think we've got a little bit looser with the set, and I think all of us, we can normally say, how about trying this? And we can normally learn the song pretty quickly if we've never played it before or haven't played it in a while. We can normally make it happen, or we can tweak something. And as the tour goes on, sometimes you extend bits or jams and you can run songs together. And I'm glad you mentioned the Love Your Early Stuff tour, because that was one that we really took on board, that we wanted to look at stuff that we hadn't ever played in some cases, or we hadn't played since that particular album, whatever was out. But there's no real, obvious things like no blues jams, don't ever do a cover version of the headline band at a festival, even as a joke, just sensible things like that, but we're pretty open to it. But I think you get a good balanced overview of the band and at every concert. And we've maybe been a bit more with the theme tours, certain albums and stuff like that. We've probably got a bit better at communicating that to the people. So if you're buying a ticket, this is the Hard Cold Fire tour, but this might be a Trouble Gum show or that. I think that's important as well. So, but people are always shouting for bizarre stuff, which I love.
Yeah,
I'm always laughing, going, I don't remember how to play that. I haven't played it since it was recorded, but awesome. I love it.
Oh no, fantastic. And it's telling, for me as a setlist geek, the bands that do put a bit of an effort in it. And an example of that would be back on the Trouble Gum anniversary tour, where you didn't just play the album, but you also picked songs from around that era, as you talked about earlier, and B-sides and everything, and you look at that whole time period rather than just just because it's going to be commercially successful as a tour, we're going to play our biggest album just to try and get through some tickets. Well, actually, no, we are focusing on that. We are celebrating the anniversary. We're going to play all this other stuff as well and tie it in. And that to me shines through from you guys as a band.
Oh, good. Like I say, we do. I mean, we obviously really enjoy what we do, but we take the artistic side of it very seriously. Making the records, writing the songs, and making sure the shows. I mean, we meet bands that have been going a lot less than us, and they're like, "You actually sound check?" And we're like, "Yeah," because we want it to sound as good as possible for us and for the. And they're like, "No, we stopped sound checking 5 years ago. We just turn up and play." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I just don't want to take the risk of having a kind of a shitty sound for the first 4 songs. We're quite sticklers like that. If we have to get up early and drive to get in time for sound check, we all do it. I think that's part of the deal for a paying audience. You want it to look and sound great, and we've got a really good road crew who are really dedicated to making the show great as well. So that reflects on every level, I hope. And that's maybe one of the reasons why people still want to come and see us live. And obviously new album, and a great legacy of great hits and deep cuts and everything we've got to draw upon. I'm really excited about this. The rest of the year and the forthcoming years. I mean, there's a lot of positive energy and good ideas and creative spirit within the band at the minute. So I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, no, and that is great to hear from a fan perspective for sure. The setlist side, just to wrap it up, really, really intriguing conversation there. And I'm going to try and pinpoint, short and succinct, the last question that we always give in that segment. We've only brought it in recently because there's been a bit of a debate about it recently, but encores, yes or no? What are your thoughts on encores?
Yeah. But we have done it where we haven't done encores. We have done it because there hasn't been. I mean, I think it works off a reaction. People want more. It needs to be articulated to the artist. Because what a lot of people don't understand is when you walk off stage, sometimes you're in a soundproofed room. Do you know what I mean? You can't actually, you're kind of detached from it. So it's hard to stage manage, and I think we come from a punk rock background where it's like, okay, we'll do the encore if people want to do it, absolutely, but if people aren't that bothered, we won't. I mean, very rarely that ever happens. Festivals, you don't do that. Even on some of the headline shows, we'll just say, you know what, we've a phrase, it's not an encore type of night, so we play all the songs right through, so we don't go off. We just have a drink of water and say, right, we were going to go off, but hey, sure, we'll just play them. So it's but yeah, I do like an encore, and I do like it at a show, because as a person of a certain age, shall we say, I'm not down the front in the pit anymore. I'm stood at the back loving it. And sometimes the band on stage, it might be hard for them to gauge the reaction type stuff, but surely when you go off, I'm always I do like an encore. I like the business of show as a bit of a show business. We have an intro tape, you make an entrance, we structure the set in a dynamic way. We don't just play the songs in a random order. Finish on a high, you come on, you do your encore, boom, house lights on, we're smiling, the crowd's smiling. That's part of the fun.
Oh, it is. And absolutely fantastic. I agree completely with that. For sure.
It's cheesy, but sometimes you need a bit of cheese.
It's cheesy, but in a way, I mean, the word that came to my mind randomly was romantic. in a just
it's the romance of treading the boards and the
definitely. I absolutely love it. So a lot there, obviously, for listeners to whet your appetite, and hopefully, between the album, which is as we say, absolutely stunning, and obviously the tour that's coming up, there's a lot for listeners to engage in with Therapy. So hopefully they will do that. Therapy official again across all the social medias for the listeners. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you, Michael. We always throw it back to the guest for the last bit and just say, what would be your final message for the listeners today?
I don't know. I'm not really one for great statements, but like I said earlier, I'm myself and the rest of the guys are really flabbergasted by the ongoing support for the band. It's been absolutely brilliant, and especially with the new album, we're just really excited. Like I said, we've got a lot of pretty cool projects and ideas up our sleeve, not just for this year, but ongoing. So we're gonna keep on doing what we're doing and go into everything 100% with gusto. And it's like you said earlier, just be kind.
Yeah.
We're all a unit. There's a great community around the punk and metal and rock scene, and we need to look out for each other and support each other. And everyone's got good days and bad days, but let's keep on giving each other good days, I reckon.
Oh yeah, definitely. That is a phenomenal final message, and fully agree with that one. Thank you for joining us on the podcast, Michael.
A pleasure, Paul. Thank you, mate.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. I really do hope you enjoyed that chat there with Therapy. Do make sure that you check out their new album, Hard Cold Fire, and of course follow the band on social media to stay up to date with everything coming from them. You can also stay up to date with Full Pelt. We are on Facebook at Full Pelt and on Twitter and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. And finally, if you would, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button wherever you're watching or listening, because we'll be back very soon with another episode of the Full Pelt Music Podcast.